Here's a major shakeup in the NBA. The Minnesota Timberwolves just made a blockbuster move that's got everyone talking. A three-team trade involving Julius Randle, Donte DiVincenzo, and some future picks, with the biggest name leaving Minnesota being Karl Anthony Towns. This trade is a major shift for the Timberwolves, and many fans were caught off guard by it. Towns has been a cornerstone for the team, and it seemed like he was there for the long haul. So, what happened? Why did the Timberwolves make this drastic decision, and what does it mean for their future? Let's break it all down right here on Sports Frenzy TV. First, let's talk about Karl Anthony Towns and his impact on the Timberwolves. Towns was the first overall pick in the 2015 NBA draft, and since then, he's been the face of the franchise. For years, he seemed like the perfect fit alongside young stars like Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert. The team was on an upward trajectory, and last season was one of their best in nearly 2 decades. They finished with their best record since the 2003 to 2004 season, knocked off the defending champion Denver Nuggets, and made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. With all of that success, you'd think they'd just run it back, right? But instead, they've decided to roll the dice and go in a completely different direction. And that's where this trade comes in. So let's break down what the Timberwolves got in return. They landed Julius Randle, Donte DiVincenzo, and a future first-round pick. Now, this trade might be a tough pill to swallow for some fans because Karl Anthony Towns is a huge loss. But let's dig into why this trade might actually make sense for Minnesota in the long run. One of the main factors behind this move was the financial situation. Towns' new contract was massive, and keeping him on the roster would have put the Timberwolves in a tight spot. According to insiders, Minnesota was going to be forced to choose between Towns and some key role players like Naz Reid and Alexander Walker. If they kept Towns, they likely would have had to move on from Reid and Walker, which would have hurt the team's depth and long-term potential. So in a way, this trade was as much about preserving the team's future as it was about making a bold move in the present. Now, losing Towns is a big deal, no question about that. But the Timberwolves didn't walk away empty-handed. Let's talk about Julius Randle first. Randle is a physical player who brings a lot of toughness and shot creation to the table. One of the biggest issues the Timberwolves faced last season, especially in the Western Conference Finals against the Mavericks, was the need for more shot creation. It can't all fall on Anthony Edwards. With Randle in the mix, they've got another guy who can break down defenses, get into the paint, and create opportunities for himself and his teammates. Randle's playmaking is also something worth highlighting. He's posted higher assist percentages and lower turnover rates than Towns over the last 5 seasons. That's key because Minnesota needed someone who can help facilitate the offense, especially in pressure situations. Over the past few years, only a few players like Trae Young, Luka Doncic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo have assisted on more corner three-pointers than Randle. So his ability to attract defenders and kick the ball out is going to be a big asset for this team. But it's not just about facilitating. Randle can score too. Last season, he averaged 24 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. While he's not as consistent from beyond the arc as Towns, he's still a threat from deep, especially from the corners. He shot 50% on corner threes last season, which will be huge for spacing the floor alongside Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert. And when it comes to physicality, Randle brings a level of grit and toughness that the Timberwolves could really use. He's not afraid to drive into traffic, and that's something Minnesota will definitely benefit from. Now let's move on to Donte DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo might not have the same name recognition as Randle or Towns, but don't sleep on this guy. He's coming off a career year with the Knicks, where he averaged 15.5 points per game and shot a career-best 40.1% from 3. The Timberwolves have struggled with three-point shooting at times, so adding a knockdown shooter like DiVincenzo addresses a major need. He's going to be a perfect fit as a kick-out option when Randle or Edwards drive to the rim. And the best part, DiVincenzo is going to have a bigger role in Minnesota than he did with the Knicks. he's going to get more minutes and more opportunities to make an impact. What makes DiVincenzo such a great addition is not just his shooting, but his overall basketball IQ. He's a smart player who knows how to position himself to make plays on both ends of the floor. And he's coming in with a team-friendly contract, which helps Minnesota's long-term flexibility. In fact, during the preseason, DiVincenzo was already showing flashes of what he can bring to this team. In a game against the Lakers, he went 4 for 4 from the field, including 3 for 3 from beyond the arc for 11 points in just 9 minutes. If that's a sign of things to come, Timberwolves fans have a lot to be excited about. So, with Randle and DiVincenzo in the fold, the big question now is, how does Coach Chris Finch make all these pieces fit? The Timberwolves have acquired 2 players that can make an immediate impact, but the challenge will be blending their skills with the rest of the roster. There are some legitimate questions about how Randle will match with Gobert and whether or not DiVincenzo can step into a leadership role off the bench. But if Finch can get everyone on the same page, this team has the potential to be even better than they were last season. And let's not forget about the rest of the roster. Reigning 6th Man of the Year, Naz Reid is going to be critical in replacing some of Towns' production. If he can take another step forward, he could help fill the void left by Towns in the front court. Anthony Edwards, of course, is the key to it all. We've already seen flashes of his superstar potential, and with Towns gone, this is officially Edwards' team. He's going to have more responsibility, more touches, and more opportunities to take that next leap. One thing I'm really curious about is how the Timberwolves defense holds up without Towns. Last season, they had one of the best defenses in the league, and a lot of that had to do with Gobert's rim protection. But even without Towns, there's a good chance they could remain elite on the defensive end. The combination of Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, and Randle gives them a versatile front court that can switch, defend the perimeter, and protect the paint. Offensively, the Timberwolves should be able to spread the floor better with Randle and DiVincenzo, and there is a good chance there will be more ball movement and better shot selection this season. The pieces are in place for Minnesota to improve on both sides of the ball. So what's the ceiling for this new-look Timberwolves team? Honestly, it's hard to say. They've got the talent to make another deep playoff run, and if things break right, they could contend in a loaded Western Conference. But a lot of it will depend on how well these new additions gel and whether or not Anthony Edwards can make that jump into superstardom. If everything clicks, don't be shocked if we see the Timberwolves in the NBA Finals conversation. Now, we want to hear from you guys. Do you think the Timberwolves made the right move trading away Karl Anthony Towns? How far do you think this team can go with Randle and DiVincenzo in the lineup? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss any of our latest content. That's all for today. Thanks for hanging out. Catch you in the next one. Take it easy.